Welcome to the Fair Housing Insiders. We are so thankful that you joined us. And please remember to subscribe here on our YouTube channel or follow and like us on your favorite social media outlet, which you can find links to in our show notes for even more fair housing news and insights. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fair Housing Insiders, episode 98. Today, we are focusing on fair housing and diversity. I'm your host, Jonathan Saar, and with us today for this episode is Leslie Tucker. Leslie, we look forward to your insights on this very relevant and current topic for our audience today. So to get us started, can you help our audience understand what's the difference between fair housing and diversity?
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. And yeah, there's certainly a difference between fair housing and diversity. And I guess to get started on explaining that difference, I want to talk about the concept of equality. Because I think a lot of people think of fair housing as a means of making people more equal. Or at least maybe they think that that was the purpose of the law. But really requiring, quote unquote, equal treatment for people of different races and ethnicities and prohibiting discrimination, it doesn't necessarily put us all on equal footing. And I think that's the important thing to remember with the concept of equality. The passage of the Fair Housing Act didn't just magically erase decades and decades of segregation and discrimination. So, I don't view equal rights as being, I guess, maybe the most important outcome of the Fair Housing Act. When you account for the fact that when the Fair Housing Act was passed, many renters were starting out at a very different place in terms of income, education, quality of housing, access to jobs, things like that. It's clear that all of a sudden, simply treating people the same wasn't going to create, a harmonious, inclusive world. So over the years, fair housing laws and initiatives have acknowledged that in order to promote diversity in housing, housing providers need to not only treat people, equally, but they also have to take proactive steps to achieve a more diverse tenant population. Obviously, taking into consideration that many, many renters, are starting out at a place of disadvantage. So, I guess, long story short, diversity is the goal, and fair housing is a means of achieving it.
That's an amazing explanation. And for our audience, I think such a relevant and important topic. And, as we've commented on other shows, it just helps us to see where we may be missing the bar as an industry because of the fair housing law. It's been able to help kind of put a magnifying glass with what we're trying to achieve, that ultimate goal, as you highlighted. It's a great explanation. So our audience is like, okay, yes, fair housing, protected categories, state, local law, those are laws. There's fair housing laws, but is diversity a law?
So diversity isn't actually a law. There's no law that says, your property has to be, this diverse. Diversity is a goal, kind of like we just talked about. Diversity is a means of measuring the success of inclusive housing practices. So if a community was historically not diverse, but that community is now a good mix of different races, ethnicities, and backgrounds, that's evidence that the property's policies have been effective. So fair housing mandates regarding marketing and advertising efforts, waitlist lotteries, generally being aware of what groups of people live in your market area, funding new affordable housing in areas where the economy is solid or growing. Those are all methods that are aimed at increasing diversity, especially in areas that have historically been non-diverse.
Welcome back. These videos are powered by our friends at Digible. Their team harnesses the power of AI and automation to handle the heavy lifting for you and your leasing team, and they understand the complexities of fair housing compliance. Their platform, Fiona, streamlines the process, ensuring each property's digital footprint is not only effective but also fully compliant. Check out their website to learn more.
Okay. That's an awesome explanation. You know what I was thinking? It sounds like diversity would be the principle of which we use as a lens for applying the fair housing laws. Just with that goal in mind, it really, really helps set the stage for great conversation and making sure that we are have best practices along those lines. So another question then, with that in mind, what would you recommend to our community, to property management companies, so that they can make sure whatever they're doing, policies and operations, as you highlighted earlier, marketing, advertising, that they're following fair housing laws, but also including diversity in their policies?
So it's difficult to, quote unquote, include diversity in your policies, basically because a company can't take into consideration someone's race or ethnicity when you're making employment decisions or tenancy related decisions. For example, you can't favor a racial minority by putting their application, in front of others in order to increase diversity. However, companies are expected to be aware of the general demographics of their properties, maybe to determine whether those demographics are representative of the surrounding community and their market area. And then, if they're not, to take proactive steps to market to underrepresented groups within that market area. So some examples of that may be, to advertise the community on a Spanish radio station, or to place marketing materials in a store or a community center where the patrons are majority African American. Those are just some examples of ways that you can increase your outreach to try to increase the diversity. So marketing and advertising is one of the primary ways that properties can promote diversity amongst their resident population while still complying with fair housing laws.
Okay, very good. Thank you for highlighting those examples. Super, super helpful to our audience to kind of see where that can specifically apply to them. So thank you, Leslie. Appreciate the conversation and helping us understand diversity and how it relates to fair housing. Great episode. Appreciate you being here. And we thank you, our community. Thank you as always. We love you. You guys are great. We appreciate your support of this channel. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to hear your feedback about today's episode. Do you have a topic that you would like to see discussed in a future episode? Feel free to share that with us. In the show notes, you'll see a link to sign up for our newsletter. This newsletter will keep you up to date with our latest episodes, blogs, and information about our online fair housing courses. Thank you again, and happy training.